Today then, we are going to finish off our series. We've been doing a series called Faith, Hope and Love. And so we're looking at love then. And today it's love that remains. And looking forward into February then, we're actually going to be looking a little bit more at who we are and what we're about as we approach our third birthday and even beyond that. And we've got some exciting new things that we're going to be looking at as part of that series. But today then, in 1 Corinthians 13, we see the passage where the faith, hope, and love bit comes from. And it says this, so 1 Corinthians 13, verse 13. And if you've got your Bibles with you, you might want to open them up or turn them on to 1 Corinthians 13, because I'm going to be dipping in and out of that one a lot today. So, and it says, and now these three remain, faith, hope, and love. But the greatest of these is love. So Paul is the author of this passage, and he's letting us know that love is the greatest virtue. And we'll be looking at why and how we as Christians can embrace this greatest virtue. But just before then, however, I pray that you would indulge me for a moment. As many of you may know, I'm dyslexic, and there are many issues I take umbrage with the English language. Silent letters. Whose good idea was that? I mean, really, come on. But one of the biggest issues I have with the English language is that actually it's lazy. If we take the word love, we use it to describe so many different things when they all mean something unique. For instance, I love my wife, truly, madly, deeply. But I also love the party ring biscuits. I love my kids, and I love Lego. But I love them all in very different ways. And the word love doesn't mean the same thing for each of those. And each time I use it to describe something, it kind of lessens its value when I'm truly trying to describe something that I love truly, madly, deeply. By contrast then, the Greek language, which is what the New Testament was mostly written in, has 8 different words for love. Because they recognized that people loved things differently, so they gave them different words. So for instance, agape, and I'm probably butchering the Greek here, but agape is the unconditional, selfless, charitable love often used to describe God's love for us. Philia is a deep affection, like friendship and loyalty, kind of like brotherly love, the band of brothers kind of thing. Whereas pragma is the mature, enduring love that develops over time. So the Greeks realized that love can change, love can develop, but also there are distinct types of love. Why is this important? Well, when we read verses like that one in 1 Corinthians where it says, love remains, what love is that? As I said, in the English language, love is a lazy word because it can mean so many different things. But when we look at it in the Greek, it helps us to understand what they're talking about, or what Paul is talking about. It's also important because frequently we can misinterpret if we don't understand the exact terminology. So love is clearly quite an important thing. I mean, in Matthew 22, Jesus says this about the great commandments. What is the greatest commandment? In verse 37, he says, a teacher of the law comes to him and says, what's the greatest commandment? Trying to trick him. And Jesus says, you shall love the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul and with all your mind. This is the greatest and first commandment. And a second is like it. You shall love your neighbor as yourself. On these 2 commandments depend all the law and the prophets. So Jesus is saying that love is vitally important. And in 1 Corinthians then, Paul kind of reestablishes this. So I'm just going to read the whole of 1 Corinthians 13 to you now. And it should come up on the screen behind me, possibly. If I speak in the tongues of men and angels, but have not love, I am a noisy gong or a clanging cymbal. And if I have prophetic powers and understanding of all mysteries and all knowledge, and if I have all faith so as to move mountains, but have not love, I am nothing. If I give away all I have, and if I deliver up my body to be buried, but have not love, I gain nothing. Love is patient and kind. Love does not envy or boast. It is not arrogant or rude. It does not insist on its own way. It is not irritable or resentful. It does not rejoice at wrongdoing, but rejoices with the truth. Love bears all things, believes all things, hopes all things, endures all things. Love never ends. As for prophecies, they will pass away. As for tongues, they will cease. As for knowledge, it will pass away. For we know in part, and we prophesy in part. But when the perfect comes, the partial will pass away. When I was a child, I spoke like a child. I thought like a child. I reasoned like a child. When I became a man, I gave up childish ways. For now we will see in a mirror dimly, but then, face to face. Now I know in part, then I shall know fully, even as I am fully known. So Paul, in writing this, is establishing quite heavily the importance of love. He echoes the importance of it that Jesus has just said. Jesus said, the law and all the prophets are summed up in these two commandments to do with loving God and loving your neighbor. And then Paul goes on to express in even more detail exactly how that love is doing that. The word love used in both of these passages is that agape love that I said at the start. That love that is unconditional, that love that is beyond all those types of things. And that's what Paul is trying to sum up in that verse 4-7. He's trying to sum up that unconditional. It's not this, it's not this. It doesn't delight in these things. It is beyond all of that. And as I said, it's that love that God has for us. But why is it so much greater than faith and hope? I'm going to look at 3 reasons why. So first off, it underpins. I mentioned in my talk on hope last week that faith and hope are 2 sides of the same coin. And if we're using that analogy, love is what the coin is made out of. In the passage that we've just read there in 1 Corinthians, Paul is showing us that it's what gives life to everything. I don't know about you, but when I read that, or when I hear it read, mostly at weddings, admittedly, but when I hear it read out, I get convicted a little bit about it. I've been going to church all my life. I've been doing church ministry for a long time now, and I love doing it. And you'd hope so, given that I'm one of the senior pastors. But Paul reminds me in that starting letter, in that starting bit of 1 Corinthians, that my gifts, my talents, all my sacrifices I've made, it means absolutely nothing if I'm not motivated by love. If love is not the thing that underpins the whole thing, then it's worthless. And it's not just love for God. It's not just a case of, I love God, so I'm doing all of this. It's about love for his people. It's about a love for all the people that I sacrifice for. This is why Paul says it is even greater than faith and hope. Faith and hope are vital things. Libby reminded us 2 weeks ago that faith is, to paraphrase the writers of Hebrews, what pleases God. And hope is what gives us that hope of what's beyond, as I spoke about, looking at what's to come. And in a world that often feels hopeless, that's really important. but love is what fuels our faith. We have faith in Jesus because we love him. And love gives us hope. Because we have that love for Jesus, because we have that hope, we are knowing that it is towards that final goal that we are heading. And that one day we will be with the one we love the most. We understand then that love should underpin our motives. And that it's love that underpins faith and hope. But the second reason then is God is love. Love is the greatest because God is love. Love is the highest virtue because it leads us to God, who himself embodies love. The disciple John says this, "Beloved, let us love one another, for love is from God, and whoever loves has been born of God and knows God. Anyone who does not love does not know God, because God is love." In other words, love isn't merely something that God exhibits. Love isn't just something that he does from time to time. Love originates with God. So when God's people love well, when we show love, we reflect God himself. I mentioned earlier that this world can often feel quite hopeless. And we recognize that it is a fallen world. It is not as God intended it to be. This world does not know how to love well. In our fallen state, our inclination is towards self-love, self-worship. And we struggle to even do that well. We compare ourselves to others, wanting more and more stuff, seeking ways to try and fill that gap in our life that actually can only be filled by God. Because God is love. We can only love well when we recognize that we have been changed, reborn, transformed by the agape love of God. God is agape. He is moved to help us. It is not something that we can earn from him. There's nothing that we could do that would be good enough to earn God's love. It's not based on how we feel or how he feels towards us. It's always true, whole and unconditional, and uncomplicated. And that's the one that gets me. I don't have to do anything. He just loves me. I don't have to earn it. When I screw up, he still loves me. And the value of the love hasn't dipped, hasn't changed. He still loves me the same. It's the hug of a father when you've fallen over, the cuddle of a mother when you're scared. It's all that and so much more. Freely given to any who want it. But actually, it's not only freely given to any who want it. That sentence should actually say it's freely accepted by any who want it. Because even those people who don't want it, God still loves exactly the same as you and me. There is no change in his love for this world. God is love. And so when we show love, because we have been loved, when we show that love, we are showing God. We are reflecting God to others. And lastly then, love is eternal. While faith and hope will one day vanish, when I was doing my prep for this talk and I read that, I took instant umbrage. I was like, no, they'll never vanish. And then I started to read a little bit more and look into it, and I was like, Oh my words, they will do. Faith is what we have for the unseen. But one day we'll be face to face. So faith will not be needed. Hope. We hope for our future. We hope for where we're going. We hope for that perfect kingdom and to dwell in the presence of God. And one day we will be there. So hope will not be needed. In the latter part of this talk, in the passage from 1 Corinthians, in verse 8, it says, love never fails. As for prophecies, they will pass away. As for tongues, they will cease. As for knowledge, it will pass away. For we know in part and we prophesy in part. But when the perfect comes, that word perfect, when Jesus comes, the partial will pass away. Paul is contrasting the temporary with what is permanent. What is elementary with what is childish with what is mature, and what is here and what is to come. Faith, defined by the writer of Hebrews, is the evidence of things not seen. When Jesus returns, and when we are enjoying life together with him in the new Jerusalem, in that perfect kingdom, our faith will be sight. We will see the thing that we have faith in. Faith will not be necessary because we see the one who loves. Hope is the confident expectation of God's faithfulness and future promises. It is not, as we commonly think of, kind of a wishful thinking thing. I literally saw an advert on the telly yesterday with the kids, and it says, it was for Channel 4, we were watching a program, it said, what are you hoping for this Christmas? It's such in our world, the word hope is such a fleeting thing. But to quote John Piper, the theologian John Piper, Christian hope is when God has promised that something is going to happen and you put your trust in that promise. When Jesus comes, bringing his kingdom in that final days, everything we've hoped for will be realized. So then hope won't be necessary. But love endures. Love is eternal. It was there at the beginning, before the world was created. When Jesus came and died on the cross, the sacrifice of perfect love for our sins. And when he comes again to establish that kingdom anew, love will be there. We will spend eternity in the presence of that perfect agape love, being loved and loving in kind. So for those three reasons, love is the greatest. This passage serves as a two-edged sword. It is a great passage to read at weddings, reminding us about about what love is and how we are meant to love others. But it also reminds us that love should underpin all that we do. As I said, in fact, if we don't have love, everything we do is worthless. And that is a strong sentence to say, and a really difficult one when you begin to reflect on it. Do I do everything out of love? As well as being the senior pastor, bivocational, I'm also a secondary school teacher. I can promise you there's stuff that I do there, not for love of the kids, but just simply because it's the job I have to do. And when I was writing this talk, I got really convicted about that. Because everything I should do should come out of love. So as we're on this journey of faith, whether you're at the start of it and you're like, I can see the love that God has for me, and I want to experience that more, or you're on that road already, and you think to yourself, I want more of God's love. I'm sorry, you can't have it. But can you show more of God's love? Can you accept more of God's love for you? Yes. There's areas, if we're honest with ourselves, there's areas in our lives where sometimes you go, God, I don't want you in that bit. Because that bit is the bit that I'm okay with. I'm okay with the way it is. And I don't want your love in there because it gets messy if you go in there. But God is wanting us to engage with his agape love. Jesus told us to love our neighbor. And that can be hard. Our neighbor is everybody that we meet. The Bible goes so far as to say that our neighbor is actually our enemy. So to love our enemy as God loves us. By accepting God's love and following these, guidelines in 1 Corinthians about what love should be, we can attempt to live a life that has love at the center of it. So let me just read that to you again, those passages. Love is patient and kind. Love does not envy or boast. It is not arrogant or rude. It does not insist on its own way. It is not irritable or resentful. It does not rejoice at wrongdoing, but rejoices in truth. Love bears all things, believes all things, hopes all things, and endures all things.